In the black pre-dawn over Diego Garcia, 4 B-52H Stratofortresses taxi down the runway. Their 8 engines spool up with a deep growl that shakes the tarmac. Ground crews step back fast as the massive wings flex under full bomb loads of AGM-158 JASSM cruise missiles. The lead bomber rotates and climbs hard into the sky. Iranian forward radars in Bandar Abbas snap to life and track the formation. The Middle East just crossed into another high-alert phase. Will Tehran answer with missiles tonight or hold its fire? The bombers bank east toward the Persian Gulf. Pilots scan their instruments under red cockpit lights. Below them, the Indian Ocean stretches dark and empty. Back at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, crews load another flight of B-1B Lancers with GBU-38 JDAMs. But the war that began on February 28th with Operation Epic Fury has already claimed Supreme Leader Khamenei. Yet the strikes continue. U.S. commanders keep the pressure on what remains of Iran's missile sites and nuclear facilities. Iranian crews still man mobile launchers in the mountains near Isfahan. They wait for the order that could light up the Gulf. U.S. Navy destroyers of the Arleigh Burke class slice through the warm waters off Oman. Their Aegis radars sweep the horizon in constant arcs. On the flight deck of the USS Gerald R. Ford, F/A 18 Super Hornets taxi into position. Catapults hiss and slam as the first pair launches into the night. The carrier group has moved closer to the Strait of Hormuz. Every sailor feels the shift. Tension sits thick in the ready rooms. Iran's fast attack boats idle in hidden coves along the northern shore. If their crews check rocket launchers and machine guns one last time, this is not the start of conflict. It is its steady burn months deep. Operation Epic Fury opened with B-2 Spirit stealth bombers slipping through Iranian airspace undetected. They dropped precision munitions on command bunkers outside Tehran. Khamenei died in the first wave. Iranian retaliation followed within hours. Shahab-3 missiles arced toward U.S. bases in the Gulf. Most were intercepted by Patriot batteries ringing Al Udeid. A few got through and scarred runways. Oil tankers slowed their passage through the narrow strait. Insurance rates tripled overnight. The world watched the price of crude climb. Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps commanders moved their remaining Fateh 313 short-range ballistic missiles into hardened tunnels. The crews worked under camouflage netting to reposition launch vehicles. U.S. satellites captured every shift in real time. The bombers overhead forced Iran to keep its forces mobile. No fixed site could survive long. That mobility bought time, but cost accuracy. Iranian missile barrages grew less coordinated with each passing week. Still, the threat remained. One lucky salvo could hit a tanker and close the strait for days. The geography of this fight is merciless. The Strait of Hormuz measures barely 21 miles at its narrowest point. Tankers must sail single file between Iranian coastal batteries and Omani rocks. Iranian silkworm anti-ship missiles sit in concrete revetments overlooking the channel. Their crews train daily on simulated targets. USP-8 Poseidon patrol planes fly lazy figure-8s high above, dropping sonobuoys and scanning for submarine activity. Mines could appear without warning. The entire flow of 20% of global oil supply hangs on this single choke point. One wrong move and the world economy feels the choke. US B-52 crews know the route by heart now. They fly from Diego Garcia, refuel over the Arabian Sea, then press north past the Emirates. Escort F-22 Raptors join them near the Gulf entrance. The fighters weave lazy S-turns to burn fuel evenly. Radar warning receivers stay quiet for now. Iranian surface-to-air sites have gone mostly silent after early losses. Yet mobile launchers on flatbed trucks still roam the desert. One could pop up and fire without notice. The bomber crews stay alert. Their electronic warfare officers monitor every frequency. On the Iranian side, speedboat crews push off from Bandar Abbas piers. Each vessel carries 4 crewmen and racks of anti-ship rockets. They race across the shallows in tight formation. Their wakes cut white lines on the flat sea. IRGC commanders on shore watch through binoculars. They know U.S. helicopters from the Ford can appear in minutes. The boats practice rapid dispersal drills. Scatter, hide among fishing trawlers, then regroup after dark. It is a game of cat and mouse that never ends. The trigger for this latest bomber surge came in late March. Iranian proxies in Iraq launched a coordinated drone swarm against U.S. logistics hubs near Erbil. 2 C-130 OOJs were damaged on the ground. Fuel bladders burned bright into the night. U.S. Central Command responded within 12 hours. B-1B Lancers lifted from Fairford in the UK carrying JASSMER missiles. Since they struck proxy training camps inside Iran proper. The message was clear. Support for attacks on U.S. forces would bring direct consequences. Tehran answered by mining approaches to the strait. 3 commercial vessels reported near misses with floating explosives. Shipping slowed to a crawl. U.S. commanders ordered more bombers forward. The B-52s, already in theater, received fresh crews rotated from Whiteman Air Force Base. Maintenance teams worked around the clock at Al Udeid. They swapped engines and loaded fresh munitions pods. The ramp filled with aircraft. Ground power units hummed steadily. Fuel trucks snaked between the bombers, every movement visible to overhead satellites. Iran's intelligence watchers noted the surge. Their own forces went to full combat footing. Missile crews slept beside their launchers. Their radar operators stared at screens without relief. Visible movement accelerated across the theater. The USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group steamed south from the northern Gulf. Its escort destroyers formed a protective screen. Helicopters lifted off at dawn to sweep for mines. On the flight deck, E-2D Hawkeye radar planes launched first. Their propellers whipped the humid air. The carrier turned into the wind. More Super Hornets followed in tight intervals. The entire group now sits astride the main shipping lane. Iranian coastal radars track every turn. Small Iranian drone teams launch from shore to probe the perimeter. Most are shot down by ship defenses. The survivors turn back trailing smoke. Patrol boats from the Fifth Fleet race along the Omani coast. Their crews scan the horizon with binoculars and FLIR pods. Or one boat spots a suspicious trawler hugging the Iranian side. The crew signals it to heave to. The trawler complies slowly. Boarding teams prepare rifles and boarding hooks. Every interaction carries risk. A single hidden explosive could turn routine into disaster. The Fifth Fleet logs each encounter. Tension builds with every radio exchange. Iranian fast boats respond by increasing their own patrols. They dart closer to the international shipping lane than before. One group passes within visual range of a U.S. destroyer. Sailors on deck watch the low gray hulls cut across their bow. The destroyer's 5-inch gun tracks the movement. No shots fired, yet the message lands. Iran tests boundaries daily. U.S. forces answer with presence. The narrow waters leave almost no room for error. Operational pressure mounted in the days that followed. B-52 Spirit bombers completed another round of strikes on underground facilities near Natanz. The aircraft returned to Whiteman via Diego Garcia without incident. Satellite imagery later showed fresh craters and collapsed tunnel entrances. Iranian engineers moved heavy equipment to repair what they could. Dust clouds rose over the site by midday. U.S. analysts counted the repair crews through high-resolution passes. The work would take weeks. Iran's nuclear timeline stretched further. U.S. Navy P-8 crews dropped more sonobuoys in the approaches to Hormuz. The buoys hit the water with soft splashes and began transmitting. Data flowed back to the Lincoln. Iranian midget submarines remained quiet for now. Yet their bases showed increased activity. Torpedo racks were moved under cover of night. U.S. commanders weighed the risk of submarine attack against the need to keep shipping moving. Destroyers adjusted sonar pings to active mode in tighter patterns. The sea itself became a listening post. Economic signals followed the military moves. Oil tankers that normally transit Hormuz every few hours now waited at anchor off Fujairah. Their captains received new routing instructions. Some diverted around Africa entirely. Insurance underwriters in London raised premiums again. Brent crude futures jumped $12 in a single trading session. Traders watched screens in New York and Singapore. The flow of energy that powers the global economy had just grown more expensive and more uncertain. Iranian oil terminals at Karg Island went to reduced operations. Tankers loading there received armed escorts from IRGC patrol craft. The small boats circled the larger vessels as they maneuvered away from the pier. Black smoke rose from the refinery stacks in the distance. Iran needed every barrel it could export. Yet the threat of U.S. strikes kept loading rates deliberately low. Crews worked under constant alert. One false alarm and the entire terminal could shut down in minutes. Near-trigger moments multiplied in the strait itself. A U.S. Arleigh Burke destroyer detected a fast-closing Iranian speedboat group at night. The boats carried no lights. Radar operators called out ranges every 30 seconds. The ship's bridge team lit up the sea with searchlights. Warning shots cracked across the water. The Iranian boats veered away at the last moment. Their wakes showed sharp turns. No one fired a missile. The incident ended in radio silence. Yet both sides logged the coordinates. Tomorrow, the same waters could see a different outcome. Iranian missile crews repositioned a battery of Fateh 313 rockets closer to the coast. Trucks rumbled over rough desert tracks under moonlight. Camouflage nets were strung tight over the launchers before dawn. U.S. drones circling high above noted the movement and relayed coordinates. A B-52, already airborne, received updated targeting data. Its crew confirmed the new threat axis. The bomber continued its orbit. Decision time approached. One launch from that battery could reach tankers inside the strait in under 4 minutes. Civilian tankers continued their slow passage. One massive VLCC reduced speed to 5 knots near the Omani side. Its bridge watch scanned for small boat threats. The crew had practiced fire drills twice that morning. Lifeboats hung ready on davits. The ship's hull reflected the low sun like a mirror. Every mile through the strait felt longer than the last. Insurance adjusters tracked its progress from onshore offices. One spark and billions in cargo and hull value hung in the balance. U.S. fighter pilots flying combat air patrol over the Gulf reported increased Iranian drone activity. The small UAVs climbed from coastal launch points and headed south. F-35s from the Ford vectored to intercept. Their pilots locked sensors and issued warnings over guard frequency. Most drones turned back. One continued until a warning flare forced it down into the sea. The splash was visible from the carrier deck 10 miles away. The pattern repeated every few hours. Each probe tested response times and rules of engagement. Diplomatic channels stayed active behind the scenes. Envoys from Gulf states met quietly in Riyadh. They pressed for de-escalation while quietly supporting the U.S. presence. European allies monitored oil flows from their own capitals. China watched tanker traffic that supplied its refineries. Every capital calculated risk and reward. Yet the military reality on the water and in the air continued without pause. Bombers kept flying, ships kept maneuvering, the strait remained open but only just. Military consequences unfolded in steady waves. Another flight of B-1B Lancers struck hardened aircraft shelters at an Iranian airbase near Shiraz. Runway craters appeared before sunrise. Iranian MiG-29s that survived earlier raids now had fewer places to hide. Ground crews pushed wrecked aircraft aside with tractors. The base fell silent for repairs. U.S. commanders noted the reduction in Iranian air sorties. Air superiority tilted further. Still, the ground-based missile threat persisted. Diplomatic fallout spread through the United Nations. Iran's remaining envoys condemned the strikes in emergency sessions. They displayed wreckage from downed drones. U.S. representatives countered with evidence of Iranian mining attempts. The chamber filled with raised voices and pointed documents. Votes on resolutions stalled along familiar lines. Behind closed doors, back-channel talks continued. No side wanted full closure of Hormuz. The economic pain would be mutual and severe. Economic shocks rippled outward. Asian markets opened lower as tanker delays mounted. European gasoline prices climbed at the pump. U.S. refineries adjusted crude intake from alternative sources. Strategic petroleum reserves in several nations saw small draws. Shipping companies rerouted vessels at added cost. Insurance syndicates revised risk models overnight. The price of everything from plastics to jet fuel felt the pressure. Global supply chains tightened one link at a time. The hidden truth of this phase lies in the mismatch of capabilities. U.S. bombers deliver precision strikes with minimal risk to air crews. Iranian forces rely on asymmetric tools. Speedboats, mines, ballistic missiles. Each tool carries high escalation risk but low precision. Tehran can disrupt but struggles to sustain. Washington can strike deep but cannot occupy. The result is a grinding contest of will measured in hours of flight time and barrels of oil delayed. A long-term impact points toward a prolonged standoff. Iran's nuclear program has been set back years. Its conventional missile inventory shrinks with every confirmed strike. Yet regime survival instincts remain sharp. Proxy networks across the region stay active. U.S. forces must maintain constant presence to deter further attacks. The cost in fuel, munitions, and political capital mounts steadily. Allies grow weary. Domestic audiences question the price of continued operations. Worst-case scenarios remain on the table. A single miscalculation in the strait could sink a tanker and close the choke point for weeks. Oil prices could double. Global recession risks would spike. Best-case paths involve quiet back-channel agreements to reduce naval provocations. Tankers resume normal transit. Bombers return to routine deterrence orbits. Neither side claims victory. Both claim survival. The B-52 formation that lifted off hours earlier now completes its mission and turns south. Its crews monitor fuel gauges as they head for recovery at Al Udeid. Iranian radars still track them until they pass beyond range. The sky over the Gulf grows quiet again for a moment, yet the ships below keep station. The patrol planes keep circling, the fast boats remain ready in their coves. The tension that began with those 4 bombers has not eased, it has simply settled into a new normal. The unresolved question lingers in every ops center and command post. How much longer can this calibrated pressure hold before one side forces the next irreversible step? The bombers will fly again tomorrow. The ships will hold position. The strait will remain open for now. But the margin for error has grown razor thin. The Middle East stays locked in high alert. The next movement could come from either side at any hour.